Hey, it's Project Lead here to show you how to adjust your families to be visible above the view range. It's much easier than you think, so stay tuned for this short tutorial. So I have a bathroom clothes hanger modeled over here as a generic model, and I've done this for a reason, which I'll explain during the video. If I click on the family, you'll see that it's 1200 millimeters elevation from level, and if I click Edit Type, you'll see that the default elevation is also at 1200 millimeters. The default setting is elevation from level. This has some important implications, so we'll pick back up on that later. So if I click on the family and I set it to 1800, you'll notice that now disappears from view. So that is essentially above the 1500 top plane of the view range. If, however, I do go to the 3D view, you'll see that is still there, and you can see that the elevation from level is at 1800. So in most cases, you probably want the family to disappear above the cut plane. However, in some cases, you may not want this. So there is a way around this, and this is the solution. What you want to do now is open the family. So I'll go over to the 3D view, click on the family, edit the family. As this is a wall-based family, I'll go to the placement side. What I'll do is I'll go over to the Create tab and go over to Model Line, and I will choose Invisible Lines, and I will set the placement plane to back, which is the same side as the placement side. I've just drawn a line over here. What I'll now do is align that to a reference plane and lock it to the reference plane, as well as lock it to the top reference plane from each point of the line, and then down to the reference level, the bottom point of the line. I'll lock those. As you can see here, the default elevation is also being used to set the offset from the level. So essentially, whatever that is in here is what it's going to be the elevation from level when I place it on the other side. So when I change the elevation from level in the model, it doesn't change the default elevation, as this is a type parameter, and it being a type parameter means that for every item in that type, it's going to be the same height. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using this particular method. So, and what I'm also doing at this point is using it to the underside of this element. All right, so what we'll do next is we'll take this element and bring it over into the main model, load into project, so override the existing, and now you can see that it disappeared. So this is exactly what I meant. You have to watch out for when using that default parameter. So if I click back on this element, I can set the elevation from level back to 0, and you'll see that that is offset from the ground, but it's actually set from the type parameter. So what we'll do is we'll just set the type parameter to that 1800. There we go. And if I go back over to level 1, here is exactly when we expect to see it, and you're not seeing it. So why is this happening? This is because if I go over to family, it's because if I click on family category and parameters under the properties panel, I click on that, you can see it's set to generic model. And for whatever reason, Revit has an issue with that. So if I switch that to pretty much anything else, so for this case, I'll just use it as specialty equipment, and I'm just going to untick that just for the sake of this project. And I'm going to say, okay. Now if I load that back into the Revit project, you'll notice if I overwrite the existing version and if I click on level 1, voila, there we go. We can see exactly what we wanted to see. Just bear in mind that little offset trick. So if I were to go and create another item now, just keep that elevation from level at 0 and just make sure you'll notice that the edit type is at 1800. So if you need it at different heights, just remember to duplicate the type and then change this. So okay, if I click there, you'll see that it exists. And because I used invisible lines during family creation portion, you see invisible lines, that is not visible in our Revit model. You can see, however, when I click on it, that it does show up, but that's not important because it's not going to show up in any of our drawings. If you like this video, remember to check out some of my other Revit hacks over here. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. All supporting documentation links can be found in the description below, and if you're feeling up to it, I'd really appreciate your support over on Ko-fi. Happy designing!